Hello and welcome to Big Nostalgia with me, Vikkstar.
And me, haddowinc.
This week we'll be looking at the Nintendo 64 game of 1080 Snowboarding.
Let's shred some snow.
Yes, let's shred some snow.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Well, this game was actually one of the main snowboarding games for the platform, along with Big Mountain 2000 and, of course, Snowboard Kids.
God, like...
It's a weird comparison, isn't it? From like a human-based snowboarding game to whatever the Snowboard Kids are.
Big Mountain 2000 is just... like, I like the title 1080 Snowboarding, but Big Mountain 2000, that just tells you everything you need to know.
Really does. Well, if we go on to... it was developed by Nintendo EAD, which stands for Entertainment Analysis and Development, largest software development division in Nintendo at the time.
See, that I think was one of the surprising things about this game for me is, for some reason I always had it in my head that it was developed by a third party.
No, it was actually developed by Nintendo. And it was released for the Nintendo 64 at 1998, but then re-released in 2008 for the Wii Virtual Console. And they did have a sequel, which I didn't know this. They had a sequel on the GameCube 1080 Avalanche, which, to be fair, I never really played the GameCube, so it's not a big surprise I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah, and like... yeah, I just... yeah, it's not a surprise really. Snowboarding games kind of come in and out of vogue, don't they, every few years?
It's one of those things. I see them kind of on the same par as like a skateboarding game. Like, it's popular to certain people, but it's one of those things that always kind of comes back in small amounts. It's never really like a big title. So, of course, but in our recordings and stuff like this, we like to cover all sorts of games, not just the big names. It was actually announced at Nintendo's Space World Show in Japan in 1997. The demo shown at Nintendo's Gamers Summit in January 1998. A demo was shown and then it was released in Japan in 1998. So it was very well received, as in it's actually, out of all the Nintendo 64 games, it was the 23rd best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time, which is, I know it's not high, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, no, very few people I talk to about this game have like bad things to say about it. I think it's a bit of a standard snowboarding game at points, but...
yeah, people don't really have anything negative to say about it because it doesn't have a lot to it. If you want to have a go at snowboarding, this is your game on the Nintendo 64.
I mean,
it's entertaining enough. And if you don't want all the, like, the bells and the whistles as with Snowboard Kids, and we probably will refer to Snowboard Kids quite a lot because it's the other big snowboarding game that we've covered. That one is more about the updates and the items. The items.
It's more of a party game.
Yeah, and it's more like quirks and stuff like that in there. So this is more of a serious snowboarding game.
Which I think possibly is why I was surprised to see that was like Nintendo, because Nintendo are usually all things party game and kind of cartoony. Whereas this is reasonably straight-faced as it goes.
Well, it was actually the development team for this game, Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yep.
Just after he did Star Fox, but before he did Ocarina of Time, so that little like time in between. It was also Giles Goddard, which was the main programmer who also worked on Star Fox and Super Mario 64, and Colin Reed, who also helped with the Pikmin's main programmer. So that's kind of like a weird... It is a lot of talent, but it's like a weird mix of people to do for like a humanoid snowboarding game.
I suppose, in a way, though, comparisons to Star Fox, both are you're moving forward at kind of a pace with stuff that's coming up. So, if you think about it, this is going to be a really weird quote out of context. If you think about it, Star Fox is just snowboarding in space.
Snowboarding in space.
That's going to end up somewhere as a quote, isn't it?
But there was also another game that they released called Wave Race Blue, which they all worked on previously for the... And I mention this because there were certain characters featured in both series. So some of our main protagonists were in both games, which, if you think about it, it's a bit of a weird correlation if you don't really know the franchise, to think they're not even like 1080 Wave Race Blue or nothing that links them together, really.
Yeah, and again, going back to something that I thought as a child, is that these were real snowboarders.
No, they're not even based off real snowboarders. We have got, in the game, 5 snowboarders to choose from. You've got sorry about my pronunciation of these, by the way. Kenzaki Kimachi, which was...
Kensuke, Kimachi.
Which was one of the players from Japan. Dion Blaster? Dion Blaster.
Which is a cool name.
From England, yeah. Rob Hollywood, guess where he's from? Akira Hami and Ricky Winterbourne from Canada.
Yeah, because in England, every other person you meet is called Dion.
Of course it is. Yeah, that's a totally
normal British name.
British name out of all the names they could have chosen from England. So, of course, you've got the 5 original characters, you've got 3 hidden characters, and you've also got the 8 original tracks. No, 2 hidden characters and 8 original tracks. Because you've got the Iceman, which you can unlock, and the Gold Border, which basically the player that you're playing as, he turns gold.
So, there's some things that Nintendo just haven't changed on over the years.
No. But the 8 original tracks also include Crystal Lakes, Crystal Peaks, Golden Forest, Mountain Valley, and then some unlockable tracks along the sides of the Dragon Cave.
So tracks
course.
is in like race courses,
yeah.
Or like music tracks.
Oh no, this would be race course tracks.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 trick modes: the trick attack and contest, and the 3 race modes: race, time attacks, and multiplayer. So there's a lot to choose from here from a game. Like a lot of varieties of gameplay.
Yeah.
If you're into snowboarding and you want to try a trick attack or a contest about that, or race or time attack, and the multiplayer, which is always good.
So what you're telling me is that because these riders aren't based off real people, I mean, just to date this recording a little bit, this is just after they've announced... just after they've released, the 5th DLC for Smash, and obviously it's going to be 6 more. So you're saying that Kensuke Kimachi could be coming to Smash Bros. Ultimate?
He could be. They could be. Imagine what sort of attacks that they have in the Super Smash Brothers.
Just hitting them with a snowboard, I imagine.
Yeah, and like shooting snowballs at them. And surfing on in.
I mean,
Why not?
Why not?
If you'd like one of them to be the final Smash Brothers, then please get in contact with the right people.
Like the final Smash would be you'd like like Captain Falcons, like the Falcon comes past and catches them. You like catch them in it, and it's like an avalanche just comes and takes them away.
Boom.
Yeah.
Sorted.
We've just pitched.
An amazing new character.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a range of boards that you can use. There's Tahoo 151, Maylot 147, but the extra board was called the Penguin board, and it looks like you're basically riding a penguin, which is a pretty sweet unlock.
Yeah.
So for a game that's pretty much standard, it had a lot of unlockable sides to it, which is always fun for gameplay, to have tasks and things to work through.
So it sounds like it's quite a lot of content then, really, when you think about it.
For a Nintendo 64 game, which is quite a generic sort of gameplay, it did have a lot of content, which was really good. And it also was one of the first, it used a technique when making this game called the skin-in standard animation, and immersive kinetics, and it makes collisions in the games more realistic and fluid. So it basically improves gameplay and what you're watching, which I thought was quite interesting for a game.
Yeah, because I think this is possibly, because of the fact that it's plays it reasonably straight, it's possibly more under sports simulator than a racing game. Would you think? Or do you think it's still probably more racing game than
I wouldn't
sports
I wouldn't
simulator?
really count it as a racing game. So we were also discussing before we started this video, the composer, Kenta Nagata?
Kenta Nagata, yeah.
Yeah, who also did the music for Mario Kart. Now, when discussing this game, there was one song that came to light more than any others.
If you know this game and you've played this game, you know the one song we're talking about because it's already in your head. The rest of the track is good, but it's a lot of like standard rock. But then when you're choosing your character, obviously you've got to work your body.
Work your body. Work your body, work your body. It was such a weird song to choose for the character deciding area and the track deciding area. It was, but very memorable. I suppose.
That's probably one of the most memorable bits of the game. Is I can hear that track anywhere and be like, God, what was that? What? It's 1080 snowboarding.
And as we said, the other music, it's just standard sort of snowboarding sort of music. There's nothing bad about it. It's just not that memorable, personally. But this game actually sold 1,230,000 copies in the USA, but not as many as Wave Racer 64, which had about
700,000 more.
Yeah.
But then, is it possibly it's because of when they were released, maybe? I'm not sure if there is just a bigger audience for wave racing than snowboarding.
Potentially. Even though that they managed to do the same characters across the board, maybe it was just, as you said, the wrong sort of focus. It was a bit more fun in the waves.
Maybe. I mean, that was one game that we didn't grow up with, because obviously this series is mostly based around the games that we had and played as kids, so it's very difficult to make that comparison. I think we had a version of Wave Race, but I think that might have been on the Game Boy or something. Because I do remember us having a copy of something Wave Race related. But not on the N64. What else is quirky about the game?
Well, very, very small point. Tommy Hilfiger's outfits were actually a project placement in the game, which, if you think about it, not many games at that time were doing product placements as much. It was more, I mean, if you watch the old Terminator films, you can see Pepsi everywhere, but in the game sort of aspect, and if you think for Nintendo as well, I can't imagine Mario chugging down a Coca-Cola or something in his games. It wasn't really...
But it reminds me of the fact that in the Japanese version of Mario Kart, all the billboards were like parodies of like motor
parodies,
companies.
but not actual
product placement.
Not actual product placement.
Because wasn't it like there was one that was like Mario Boro, which was like Marlboro, which is the cigarettes, and like that had to be changed outside, like that had to be changed before release, and obviously it's a parody. But I mean, obviously if it was legitimate product placement from cigarettes, that also wouldn't be good.
No, definitely if you think of the product, the people that this is based for.
So what are your main memories when you think back to days playing 1080 snowboarding?
I'm afraid to say 1080 snowboarding was never one of my favourite games to play. It was a generic snowboarding game, and I didn't not enjoy it. It's just that I preferred snowboard kids. A lot more, it had the items element that made it a lot more fun, definitely considering my age when I was playing it. And it had a lot more, competition. You were racing against people, whereas this, like, trying to learn the tricks and stuff, it really wasn't a big deal for me.
Yeah, no, I think possibly the target audience for this was just a bit older than we were at the time that it got released.
It was basically for people who are a bit more serious about Nintendo 64 gameplay, but as you said...
Falls into the same category as kind of like the F1 racing games.
And even Perfect Dark, because that was a bit more grown-up Nintendo 64 game in comparison to its Mario franchise and stuff like that.
Yeah, so possibly more free, more mature audience than we were back, 22 years ago when it came out.
Oh, more mature than when we were then? Crazy.
Have we grown since then? I like to think yes, but the reality might surprise you.
Well, that's been 1080 Snowboarding. Please leave any comments you have below, and get back to us if you had any of your own memories or disagree or agree with any of the information that we found, or just basically share with us your thoughts and feelings about it. We'd be happy to hear from you.
In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at BridgeBK, which gives you updates on this and all our other shows during the week. And we will be back.
Catch us next time.
Next week for another episode of Big Nostalgia.
Catch us on the next snow wave.
we'll catch you up the mountain, where we'll be doing another. Well, I was about to say another racing game. We agreed not racing, but we'll be doing Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah,
back to form with certain abilities and cartoony characters. Should be a laugh.
And bananas.
Don't forget the bananas.
Anyway, I've been haddowinc.
And I've been Vixstar. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Bien.
Do 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 do.
Bien.
Do 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 do.
Bien.
Do 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 do.
Big nostalgia.
Yeah.